Imagine knocking on the door of someone you love, but no one answers. You know they're there listening, but they've chosen to ignore you. That feeling of emptiness and frustration is what many parents experience when their children, the very ones they gave everything for, treat them with indifference or disrespect. It's not just a matter of wounded pride, it's the pain of feeling like you've been pushed into an invisible corner of their lives. But here's the truth few dare to say out loud: the more you demand respect, the less you get. The more you insist on being seen, the more disposable you become in their eyes. And if you keep reacting with anger or sadness, you'll stay trapped in a cycle that only wears you down. Today, we're not going to waste time on regret. We're going to face this with the serenity of the Stoics and the strategy of those who've learned to live without needing outside validation. Throughout this video, you'll learn how to reclaim your dignity without begging, how to set boundaries without guilt, and how to make silence and calm your greatest strength. And when we reach the end, I'll reveal the one lesson that can truly change everything. I'm Gabriel, and if you've ever felt ignored by the people who should value you the most, this message is for you. Stay with me until the end. If your children have stopped respecting you, do you really think yelling louder will make them listen, or that calling out their indifference will send them running into your arms with tears of regret? It doesn't work like that. It never has. Respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. And if you find yourself having to ask for it, it's because somewhere along the way you stop projecting. Respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. At what you're feeling right now, that sense that your voice no longer carries any weight in their lives, didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of invisible dynamics, of words spoken at the wrong time and silences held when you should have spoken up. Maybe they grew up watching you sacrifice everything for them without asking for anything in return, and they mistook your love for unconditional availability. Maybe you tried to be the perfect parent, avoiding conflict, letting things slide, overlooking disrespect, until one day it became routine. And what becomes routine stops being appreciated. Think of a wooden chair that sat in the same corner of the house for decades. At first, everyone used it and appreciated its comfort, but over the years it faded into the background. Always are barely noticed. Then one day the chair breaks and no one misses it. That's how they treated you, not because you're not important, but because without realizing it, you allowed yourself to be seen as something guaranteed, always available, always present, without needing to be acknowledged. Marcus Aurelius said that respect isn't negotiated with words, but with actions. If you want to reclaim your place in their lives, if you want them to see you with the same respect they show to those they value, stop acting like a silent presence and start moving like someone who knows their worth. That doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means learning the art of strategic presence. When you speak, let your word be few but firm. When they seek you out, let it be because they have something to offer, not just something to ask for. When you feel the urge to demand respect, remember that true respect comes when the other person fears losing you, not when they believe they can ignore you without consequence. Don't fool yourself. If they're ignoring you, it's because at some point they decided they don't need to pay attention. But here's the interesting part: you don't need their validation to live with dignity. The broken chair no one notices can become something else, a table, firewood for a new flame, a renewed piece with more character. You're not tied to the way they see you now. You can change the dynamic, but only if you're willing to change the way you see yourself. And this is just the beginning. Now that you know respect isn't demanded but inspired, let's talk about something even more important: how to free yourself from the emotional dependence that keeps you tied to their decisions. Because the real problem isn't just that they ignore you, it's that deep down you're still hoping they'll change. And that's what we're going to dismantle next. Respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. And now that you understand this, it's time to face the next truth. You're still expecting too much from them. What's really wearing you down isn't just their indifference, it's the emotional dependence that keeps you tied to their choices, their timing, their way of treating you. If they ignore you, if they rarely call, if they speak to you coldly, why are you still giving them the power to dictate how you feel? We've arrived at the second key point in this video: letting go of emotional dependence. You may not realize it, but every time you wait for a message that never comes, get excited for a visit that gets canceled, or feel hurt when they leave you out, you become a prisoner to their will. Your mood rises and falls based on how much attention they give you. And that's a kind of slavery you're allowing. Epictetus said it plainly: don't suffer over what isn't up to you. And here's the problem: you've made your well-being depend on something you can't control. Your children are adults. They have their lives, their priorities, their own demons. They won't change just because you ask them to. And even if they did, even if they promised today to call more often or be more affectionate, to stop being emotionally dependent on them. Real question is, do you really want your happiness to depend on their willingness? Because if respect can't be demanded, neither can love be begged. For the most ironic part is that the more you expect from them, the smaller you appear in their eyes. A parent who's constantly hurt by their children's indifference, who complains about not getting messages, who suffers because the visits are too few, stops being seen as strong and respectable. Instead, they become someone needy, Someone to be dealt with out of obligation, not genuine desire. Have you ever wondered if their distance is also a reaction to that invisible pressure they feel when they're around you? No one likes to feel responsible for someone else's happiness, and without meaning to, you've handed them that burden. Emotional freedom doesn't mean you stop loving your children. It doesn't mean cutting ties or becoming cold. It means reclaiming your inner strength. It means that if they call, you're glad, but if they don't, your day isn't ruined. It means your life keeps moving forward with or without their attention. And when you reach that point, when they see you don't need them to be okay, that's when they start seeking you out differently, because respect and admiration are born from balance, not from lack. Imagine you're floating in the middle of the ocean, and the only thing you're clinging to is your relationship with your children. Every time they drift away, you feel like you're drowning. But what if you realize you can swim on your own, that the water around you isn't punishment, it's freedom, that you don't need that life raft to stay afloat? It's in that moment, when you stop clinging, when you start moving with ease, that even the raft begins to drift back toward you. What you need now isn't to keep waiting, it's to learn how to live without expecting them to fill your life. As a world beyond that dependence, but you'll only see it when you let go of the idea that your well-being depends on what they do or don't do. And that brings us to the next uncomfortable truth. The key isn't in what you say, but in how you act, because if you want to regain their attention and respect, it's not through words or complaints, it's through a silent, powerful strategy that few people know how to apply. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next point. If you've made it this far, you already know that respect isn't demanded, it's inspired, and that the wise trap you can fall into is becoming emotionally dependent on your children, because that puts you in a position of need, and no one respects what they perceive as weak or lacking. Now we've reached the third point in this video, and this is where things truly begin to change. Silence and strategy. The Stoic response to indifference. Look around. We live in a world where everything gets an immediate reaction, where emotions spill over at the slightest provocation, where no one knows how to stay silent. But the Stoics understood something most people never learned. Silence isn't passivity, it's a tactic. When someone ignores you, when you feel like they're not giving you the place you deserve, the worst thing you can do is react from a place of need, complaining, demanding, chasing their attention like a beggar asking for a coin. What you need to do is the opposite. Become someone impossible to ignore, not because of the noise you make, but because of the calm with which you hold your space. Think about this. When someone ignores you and you beg for their attention, you reinforce their power over you. But if instead you respond with strategic indifference, something in their mind begins to stir. Human nature is simple. We take for granted what's always there, and we become obsessed with what becomes scarce. If you stop reacting, if you stop chasing, if you show unshakable calm, sooner or later they'll start to wonder why. And when that happens, control in the situation has shifted. Picture king on his throne, his used to everyone bowing before him, seeking his favor, needing his presence. But one day, someone who was always at his service stops showing up. Silence and strategy. The Stoic response to indifference. They don't insult him, they don't challenge him, they just walk away with dignity. For the first time, the king feels an absence. He starts to wonder what happened, why that person is no longer paying attention to him. And suddenly the one who had all the power is now unsettled. That's how the psychology of detachment works. It's not about punishing anyone or playing games. It's about becoming so grounded in your presence that your absence is felt. But be careful, this only works if it's real. If you pretend to be detached while secretly hoping they'll call, the truth will eventually seep through. You have to believe it. You have to reach a point where your peace doesn't depend on their messages, where you can enjoy your day without wondering if they remembered you, not to hurt them, but to free your own mind from a chain that's held you prisoner for years. If this message is resonating with you, if you feel like this is exactly what you needed to hear today, I want to invite you to subscribe and leave a like on this video, not just because it helps this message reach more people, but because it's a way to commit to yourself to take back control of your life. And let me know in the comments, what country are you watching from? I want to see how far this community of people learning to live with dignity and strength can reach. Also type this phrase to affirm it: my peace doesn't depend on anyone. And stay with me until the end, because what I'll share in the final lesson might completely change the way you deal with the indifference of others. If you've understood the importance of silence and strategy, you've already taken a crucial step. You've stopped reacting like a victim and started reclaiming your power. But all of this will mean nothing if you're still trapped in the worst prison of all, guilt. No words omitted or changed. Don't let them see you weak. Stand in your integrity. Bringing them closer. That weakness only pushed them further away, because no one respects what breaks too easily. Now imagine a different scenario. Picture what would happen if the next time they ask you for something you don't want or can't do, you simply replied calmly, "No, not this time." No excuses, no long explanations. Just know maybe they'll be surprised at first, maybe they'll try to push back or guilt you, but if you stay firm, if you show that your decision is non-negotiable, something will shift in how they see you. They'll begin to see someone who values themselves, someone who doesn't have to give in to feel loved. And that's where real respect begins. Don't expect change overnight. It's a process. A muscle you don't use for years gets weak, and the muscle of saying no has been dormant in you for far too long. At first, you will feel uncomfortable, you will doubt yourself, you will want to give in again, but every time you set a boundary, without guilt, you will reclaim a part of yourself you thought was gone, and when they realize they can't manipulate you with guilt anymore, that they can't keep taking without giving something back, they'll be forced to reconsider how they treat you. Respect isn't requested, it's inspired. Emotional independence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build, and boundaries aren't walls that shut people out, they are doors that protect what really matters. If you want to stop feeling invisible in their lives, you first have to see yourself for the worth you've always had, because when you respect yourself, the world has no choice but to do the same. And that brings us a big shift. If you truly want to regain your dignity, it's not enough to set boundaries, you also have to stop acting like they're the center of your life, because the most powerful way to get the attention of those who ignore you isn't by demanding it, by showing them you don't need it. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next point. If you've learned to say no without fear, you've already taken a huge step toward freedom. But it doesn't end there, because deep down you're still waiting. You still believe that one day they'll change, that they'll wake up with a renewed sense of awareness and finally realize how much you mean to them. That quiet hope is the last chain you need to break. We've reached the sixth point of this video, and it's time to face a truth few are willing to accept. Build a life that doesn't depend on their presence. Close your eye for a moment and picture your daily routine from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. How much of your time is shaped by what they do or don't do? How often do you check your phone waiting for a message that never comes? How many plans have you postponed because deep down you're still hoping to be included in theirs? How many days have passed where you felt invisible while their world kept spinning without you? If you keep building your life around their recognition, you'll always remain a shadow in theirs, because people don't value what's always there without effort. Admiration doesn't come from silent sacrifice or endless patience. It comes when someone sees in you a full, independent, interesting life and starts to wonder when they stop being part of it. That's the key. If you keep orbiting around them, they'll never be curious about you. But if you step away and start living for yourself, sooner or later they'll wonder what they're missing. Think of someone who spends every day lamenting that their kids don't visit their house. Is a quiet place filled with old photos and fading memories, but no new experiences. They sit in the same chair, repeating the same thoughts, waiting for a call that never comes. They become a ghost in their own life. Now imagine someone who has chosen to fill their days with things that nourish them. They wake up early because they have something to do, something they care about, something that keeps them moving. They surround themselves with people who add value to their life, even if they are not family. They learn new things, take care of their body, and allow themselves to enjoy life without guilt. Which of those two people do you think will earn the respect of others? Which one do you think their children will want to call when they see them thriving with their own projects, living a life that moves forward without them? The difference between the two isn't luck or circumstance. It's a decision to keep waiting or to start living. I know this hurts. I know accepting that they are no longer the center of your life might feel like a betrayal of what you once imagined for your family. But here's a question that really matters. How long are you going to keep waiting? How many more years will you waste in the nostalgia of what was in? The expectation of what should be life doesn't stop just because they stopped looking for you. You are the only one who can decide whether you will make the most of the time you have left or stay chained to a hope that may never come true. The answer is in your hands. And now comes a final lesson, the most powerful of them all. Because if you think they'll notice your absence just because you step back, you're wrong. There's one definitive way to make them realize what they've lost, and that's the silent revenge of success. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point. If you come to understand that your life can't revolve around their presence, then you've already broken the biggest chain. But it's not enough to stop waiting. It's not enough to let go of guilt. It's not enough to learn how to say no. If you truly want to regain respect, admiration, and in some cases even the attention of those who now ignore you, there's one final key that few people know, and it changes everything. We've reached the seventh point of this video, and it's just the silent revenge of success. Here's the truth. No one tells you there's no better way to make someone feel your absence than by showing them without saying a word that you never needed them to shine. Most people who feel ignored or pushed aside make the same mistake. They play the victim, they complain, they try to get attention through guilt or nostalgia, but that only widens the distance, because no one wants to carry someone else's emotional burden. On the other hand, when someone steps back without bitterness, disappears without drama, and focuses on themselves instead of seeking explanations or redemption, the absence hits differently. It becomes a silence that speaks, one that can't be filled with apologies or pity, only with a growing awareness of what's been lost. Think of someone you once took for granted, a friend, a sibling, a partner. For years they were there, always available, always present, always waiting. And then one day, without warning, they weren't, not because of an argument, not because they demanded anything, but simply because their life moved forward without you. Suddenly their absence wasn't just absence, it was a reminder that their world never revolved around yours, and in that moment your indifference turned into curiosity. The Certainty that they'd always be there turned into doubt, and the comfort of knowing they'd never leave became a haunting question. When did I lose them? That's a strategy, not the childish revenge of ignoring those who ignore you, not pride disguised as resentment, but the undeniable power of showing that your life is full without them. And if one day they reach out, if they try to rebuild what they let fade, let it be because they see something in you that's worth coming back for, not because they feel sorry or guilty. But for this to work, you have to ask yourself one final question, the hardest of all. Are you really going to do this? Or when this video ends, are you going to slip back into your old routine, waiting for a call, checking your phone, wondering what you did wrong? Because everything you've heard here means nothing if you don't make a decision. If you keep build a life that doesn't rely on their present excuses, if you keep waiting for miracles, if you keep handing over your peace to people who've already shown they don't know how to value it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike those who've wronged you." And that's what I want you to remember. You don't need them to change. You don't need them to apologize. You don't need them to come back. All you need is to live in a way that's so full, so calm, and so dignified that one day they stop and wonder how they ever let you go, because when that day comes, when their curiosity turns them back toward you, you won't be the one needing them anymore. They'll be the ones wondering if there's still a place for them in your life, and that is a real victory. If you understand that the best response to indifference is a life well lived, then you know there's no turning back, because the moment you choose to prioritize yourself is the moment you begin to reclaim everything you thought was lost. But if you're still unsure, if deep down you're still holding on to the hope that they'll be the ones to change first, then there's one last truth you need to face. We've reached the 8th point of this video. Time will put everything in its place, but you must choose how to live it. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for justice, waiting for life somehow to teach them to value you, hoping they'll realize their mistake one day, that fate will bring them back, that regret will lead them to your door. But life doesn't work like that. There are no guarantees that they'll change or come back or ever recognize what they can't see now. The only thing that's certain is that time will keep moving with or without them. And here's the most important question of all: how are you going to live it? Because time doesn't pause, it won't wait for them to wake up, it won't freeze while you figure out what to do with your pain. Every day you spend mourning their absence is a day lost for you, a day you could have laughed, learned something new, discovered that life doesn't end just because someone stopped paying attention. And worse, if you stay stuck in that quiet waiting, one day you'll wake up and realize you spent the last few years staring at a closed door while behind you life kept offering open paths you never dared to take. So here's the action you need to take starting today. Stop waiting, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today, get up and do something different. Break the routine that keeps you anchored to the past. Make a call that isn't to them. Start a project without wondering if they'll be proud. Begin to live in a way that doesn't revolve around their approval, because every time you postpone your own life based on what they do or don't do, you keep handing over the power you said you wanted back. But be careful, this isn't a temporary shift. It's not a momentary decision you make today and forget tomorrow when nostalgia comes knocking again. It's a daily commitment to yourself, a pact of dignity where each morning you choose to make your well-being your own responsibility. And to do that, you'll need strength. There's no room for weakness, for self-deception, for excuses. Dress as patience. If you truly want to change, you will. If you truly want your peace back, you'll stop waiting and start acting. Time will show them what they can't see now, but when that moment comes, when time does its work, you won't be in the same place. You'll be someone who learned to live without needing anyone else. And if they return, it will be because they genuinely want to, not because you waited with empty hands. The only question left is this: are you going to keep wasting time waiting for answers that may never come, or will you finally start filling your life with what really matters? Because the clock is ticking and the choice as always is yours. We've arrived at the 9th point of this video, and this is where many people fall behind, because when you truly decide to, time will set everything in place. But you choose how to live it. Change. When you make that deep personal choice, the first thing that shows up isn't motivation, it's resistance. And that resistance doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within, from the excuses you've told yourself for years, from the justifications you've built to stay exactly where you are. And the worst part, you believe those excuses, you see them as legitimate reasons not to act. But don't fool yourself, they're just illusions, mental traps that keep you stuck. But they are not real, and as long as you cling to them, you keep mortgaging your own life. One of the most common lies, especially for people your age, and I won't sugarcoat this, is the idea that it's too late. It's a lie that's rooted so deep it convinces you that your best years are behind you, that the life you once imagined is no longer possible. But what does too late even mean? Too late for what? Too late to start something new, too late to learn to do something that fills you with purpose. When someone convinces themselves that their time has passed, they've thrown in the towel before even stepping into the ring. And it doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or 90. No one ever said time runs out while you still have the strength to fight. In fact, the time you have left, if you use it wisely, could be more meaningful than all the years you spent doing nothing out of fear. Another common block is a fear of loneliness. You know what I'm talking about, that belief that if you start living for yourself, Your family will drift away, that you'll lose their affection, that you'll end up alone, and that's an unbearable fate. But if you look deeper, what really scares you isn't being alone, it's what it would mean to fully own your life without depending on others. It's a fear of what you might feel when you realize you are responsible for your own path. But loneliness, far from being a punishment, can be your liberation. It's in the quiet and the absence of distraction that the greatest growth happens. Loneliness isn't abandonment, it's autonomy. It's a return to your role as the architect of your own life. If you let the fear of being alone stop you, you're choosing the comfort of a cage that promises company but keeps you trapped in a life you didn't choose. And then there's the excuse of health. I don't have the energy to start over, my condition holds me back, the pain won't let me. And yes, illness is real, we can't deny it, but so is the power of your mind. I'm not asking you to become a superhero, but I am challenging you not to let your physical limitations become the perfect excuse to live a small, resigned life. There's nothing more tragic than someone who's completely given up, who has let an external limitation steal their ability to transform their reality. The real battle isn't in your muscles or joints, it's in your mind. Your mind is a force more powerful than you've ever imagined. It can overcome pain, it can adapt, it can find peace, even in illness, if you truly want change. Don't wait for things to be perfect before you begin. Perfection doesn't exist. And while you wait for your body or your circumstances to improve, the days are slipping through your fingers. Never forget that these excuses are just a mental game. What makes them so dangerous is that they sound reasonable, so logical, but they're invisible chains. And if you keep following them, you're choosing suffering and resignation. The choice is in your hands. This is the moment to stop using those excuses as shields and take control. This is a moment to face reality, no matter how hard it is, and use it to make decisions that change your future. There are no easy promises here, but there is one truth. If you don't act now, you'll spend the rest of your days of revenge, of silent success, waiting with a heart full of regret. And the only question left is, what more do you need to finally wake up? We've reached the end of this video, and there's something important I need you to understand. This isn't a feel-good message. What you just heard wasn't meant to comfort you. It was meant to challenge you, because now the choice is yours and there's no turning back. Some of you will go to sleep tonight and change nothing, but others, the ones who made it all the way here, the ones who had the courage to face what's been hidden, will take control. But don't fool yourself. It's not easy. We're not here to offer shortcuts or sugar-coated truths. Real change takes willpower. It takes the strength to face reality with the toughness life demands, and that is the only way out of the cycle of suffering where so many stay trapped. If you're still here, if you made it to the end, I want to acknowledge your courage. Most people never dare to face what we talk about today. Most would rather stay in denial, convinced that things will fix themselves, but they won't. It's easy to ignore hard truths, but if you're still here, it's because you've already taken the first step. Now I want you to take that commitment seriously. Leave a comment with one phrase that captures what you've learned today, something that speaks straight to your heart, and tell us what country you're watching from. This is a commitment to your life, to your future, and I want to know that it's real for you. I'm Gabriel, and the Stoic Garden exists because there's an urgent need to wake up, to break out of passivity, to stop waiting for someone else to fix your life. This space is here so that together with a stoic and realistic approach, we can face life with the seriousness it deserves, because life, as Stoicism teaches, is not an accident. It's an opportunity, a chance to turn weakness into strength. This isn't about empty promises. It's about real actions that will put your future back in your hands. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, because this is only the beginning. Join this community of people who firmly decided to wake up and take control of their lives. Share this video with someone who needs to hear these words. Help us spread this message. And before you go, I'm leaving 2 more videos on the screen that will deepen everything we've talked about today. The conversation doesn't end here. Keep seeking the answers, because life keeps moving and your change can move with it.